Brahms Banana Fudge Sundae, overflowing with delicious hot fudge and fresh slices of banana. Treat yourself to a banana fudge sundae at Brahms, where every spoonful is pure bliss.
Hello and welcome, football fans, to the Skordle Pater Pick'em Show. I am Andy Campbell, your host for tonight's show. There were some instant classic games last week across the Skordle network, which we'll talk about on tonight's show. But again, this week, Skordle has another great lineup of network games you can watch for free, Skordle.tv and the Skordle app. We're going to discuss 8 Skordle network games on the show tonight with the voices of Skordle, Tom Nelson and Mark Rogers, as well as Jacob Dieselhorst, our other mainstay, who's on the show every week. Our 2 guests tonight, Chris Wilfong and Nick Friesen. Chris is a Wagner High School graduate who has had a long career in software development. He's a return guest on the show. Always enjoy having him. He was the IT director at the OSSAA for 12 years. Importantly, Chris also created and owns the Oklahoma High School Sports Historical Society, which can be found at the amazing iwasatthegame.com website, which I'm sure all of us refer to at least a few times a week. Nick Friesen. Nick's doing a great job as a writer at the Enid News and Eagle, covering sports across the state, but especially in Northwest Oklahoma. And Nick is also a return guest. Nick, I understand you have a blog for all things Northwest Oklahoma, or a video blog. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's a podcast, the Northwest Oklahoma Sports Show. You can listen to it on Spotify and YouTube. It's all things Northwest Oklahoma sports. Just wanted to create another avenue, another platform for, fans to listen to and, get all the inside scoop of everything. So, yeah, make sure y'all tune in every Saturday for a podcast.
All right. We're going to discuss our network games, then 4 of the best out-of-network games in the state this week. So we're going to go ahead and get started in Class A. The Cashion Wildcats moved to 2-0 on the season after an incredible double overtime win in Velma a week ago. Ringling is 1-0 after a 42-6 win against Atoka last week. This game will be played on Friday evening, can be watched for free, Skordle.tv, CashionWildcats.tv, and the Skordle app. Cashion won this matchup 18-6 a season ago. Mark Rogers, who wins 2025?
Well, I think that this is a great matchup. I'm glad that they played this game. And Cashion won last year, but this could go the other way. Rhett Roberts, Leland Johnson, Michael Turpin are really good players at Ringling that have started for 4 years. And they had a good season opening win. They're really tough. They had a great scrimmage against Davis. I'm going to go with Cashion. I think that Cashion's got a good chance in Class A this year, but Ringling doesn't get a whole lot of coverage. They're kind of in a vacuum there with no media around them, and they could be really good. So all these games this week are really tough. I think this could go either way, but I'm going to go Cashion.
Tom?
Well, this is one of those rivalries that was born in November and December. They split state championship matchups back in 2019 and 21. After 6 battles in the playoffs over the past 15 years, they decided to put each other on the schedule for a home and home. And like Mark said, last year, Cashion won that game. Not going to play in the playoffs anymore because they're in different divisions. This is going to have to do us. Ringling skinned the Wampus Cats last week, and still pretty young team with their best days in front of them. Cashion is playing for right now. They've paid their dues, and they're thinking gold ball again in Cashion. I think the Wildcats go on the road and get the job done this week.
Chris?
Well, I'm obviously going to look at the historical side of a lot of these games, and this is a tough one. One of the things that, and looking through some things this week, Coach Shackelford at Cashion came into this season with 197 career wins. And so I reached out to Cashion and they're 2-0. So he's apparently sitting at 199. So hopefully, he's going to hit that 200th career win. But since the game is at Ringling, over the past 7 seasons, they're 33-1 at home, and their one loss was last year. So I'm going to stay close. I'm going to go with Cashion. I'm going to pull for Coach Shackelford to get number 200. So I'm going with the Wildcats.
Nick?
Yeah, it's like you mentioned, Coach Shackelford going for 200 wins this Friday and everything. And I think, like y'all have said, they're just ready. They're ready for now for Class A1. And, it's nice that, they were mixing and, trading off state championships and everything. But now that they've, are different divisions, it's nice that they're, scheduling these regular season games against each other. But I'm going to go with Cashion in this one. I think, with Ringling being young, Cashion, like y'all said, is just ready now to make that push for the state title.
Jacob?
Ringling's a really hard team to beat at home. They've got a lot of tradition. Cashin, I think it's doing itself a favor by playing this tough early season schedule, having back-to-back road games like this, going to that crazy win at Velma last week. Shows that maybe Cashin has a little bit of luck on their side too, which always comes in handy come playoff time. So this is gonna be a tight football game, though. I got Cashin a 4-point favorite on the road, and I think it's closer than that. But I got Coach Shaq coming out with his 200th win, Cashin 24-21 over Ringling.
Chris, do you have a list on your website of coaches and how quickly they got to 200 wins? That'd be interesting to see.
No, actually, I do. I don't know if I have it on my website, but I do have a list. Let me review that.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I think
No, you're good. Somebody asked that question a few years ago, and let me look it up, and we'll come back to it.
Active wins is a good place to look for that. But Ringling lost last year at home, I think, to Dibble by 1, and then lost in the playoffs to Region Prep by 3. But those are the only home losses that I've got that I can see going back for a long, long, long time. So this is a great game. I mean, I don't think people have Ringling rated as high as Cashin this year, but this could go either way. I think Cashin deserves to be the favorite, but this game is a toss-up.
Yeah, the 33-1 was regular season.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They did lose another home playoff game in the first round. So, but still, they don't lose at home.
Nope.
Let's go to pick'em game number 2. Junior Austin Hickman nailed a 36-yard field goal as time expired to give Fairview a 23-21 win over Kingston on Friday in another classic matchup between those two schools. Tom, you called that game for Skordle on Friday. For those who weren't able to watch, give us a quick recap.
Oh, I'm a believer. After picking against them a couple of weeks ago, I got to see Fairview up close last Friday night. They went over Kingston, and their quarterback, Aiden Nightingale, excuse me, he came of age in that ball game. Led his team into field goal range from their own 3-yard line down to the Kingston 18 with one timeout left in the last 80 seconds. And then you mentioned it, Austin Hickman with the 36-yard field goal, which is the longest field goal of his career, only the second field goal he's ever made. It was raining a little bit. It was with a little bit of a breeze, but 23-21 win, and it was a great comeback win for Fairview. And great moment you don't see in smaller school, high school football. That the team drive 90, from the 3-yard line, get into field goal range because you're thinking, okay, if they have to score a touchdown to win this ball game, but they thought about it from the 18 and just he nailed that field goal right through the middle. It was a big win for the Jackets, breaking their heart for the second time in 2 years. Tonkawa has a lot back from a team that went 6-5 last year. The Bucks are going to be physical; they always are. Matchup to watch is Bucks receiver Caden Duvall. He can be a problem. He's 6'4" and 200 pounds, but they've got some secondary size for Fairview. Haddon Miller is 6'3". I think they're going to be up to the challenge. The Jackets had no problem last year beating the Bucks by 26. I think Fairview wins again, but this will be a lot closer game this time around.
Sure, Austin's dad, Mr. Speaker Jeff Hickman, was very proud on Friday night. Shout out to Mr. Speaker, Mr. Hickman.
He was a well-spoken young man as well because I had him on the post-game show. So,
well, as Tom mentioned, Fairview takes the 90-mile trip to Tonkawa to take on the Bucks on Friday. Tonkawa 1-0 in the season after a 54-14 win over Newkirk. Mark Rogers, let's go to you.
I came home last Friday and watched that game. It was awesome. The precision that they executed the last drive, you don't even see that on Saturdays. I mean, so that was great. Great call, guys. That was fantastic. I love watching that. Tonkawa had 3 different players score 2 touchdowns last week. As Tom mentioned, Caden Duvall, Loudon Alexander, Weston Freeman, they all scored 2 against Newkirk. That was kind of a big game because Tonkawa's former coach, Mike Kirtley, is at Newkirk now, and they found a way to win that. The bus trip is going to be tough. Fairview's played the first 2 games at home. Fairview was a little bit underrated this year in the preseason because they lost Jax Bernard. They've got an incredible coaching staff that allowed them to make that kind of drive to win that game last week. I think this is going to be close. It's going to be closer than last year, but I'm going to say Fairview wins probably by about 14, maybe 20.
Nick.
Yeah, I got Fairview in this one. So I talked to Coach Bernard after their game against Alpha in week 0, and he knows, then all the players know that they've been doubted and they've been underrated so far this season. And so they're kind of using that as motivation, and rightfully so. I mean, they had some great senior classes these past couple of years, but I think with Fairview and just, Aiden Nightingale just continuing to be more experienced in that quarterback position, and then with Alex Hawk and then other skill players and everything, I think they take this one pretty easily.
Chris.
I'm going with Fairview. They've had a great past 3 seasons. They've won 40 games the past 3 seasons. That's third overall behind Washington and Tipton. So I'm going to go with Fairview.
Jacob Resource.
Yeah, that's what high school football is all about, and that's what Skordle is all about. To get to watch Fairview kick a 36-yard game-winning field goal to, after that miraculous drive, again, you can really see the difference that coaching makes and preparation makes, and Fairview's focused on the details. That starts in the, weight room every year. They're at the Diesel Horse Training Center. That doesn't hurt either. That's gonna come in handy this week because Tonkawa plays big boy football. Fairview leans on its speed and versatility. Tonkawa, relies on a powerful line play and controlled offense, and so this is always a good matchup when these two teams lock heads. I got Fairview a 7.5-point favorite on the road, and I think they win a game that's going to be a little closer than we think. But I got Fairview 28-20.
I've got a story here before we move on because I did get a present in the press box on Friday night up in Fairview. Mark loves the cookies. What are they called? Cookie bars? What do you call them?
They're the Mark Rogers bars. Well,
Mark Rogers bars.
Okay.
Well,
Did you get the same stuff?
I got a nice plate of Mark Rogers bars with a note taped to it that said, "Some contain laxatives. Pick wisely, unlike last week's Pick'em show."
Wow.
Now
Hey,
you
it would
know
have been worth it.
Well
It would have
done.
been worth it. I would have eaten them all.
They were good, and to be honest with you, with my situation, a little laxative wouldn't be too bad sometimes. So I told her it was a good
That's
thing
awesome.
to have. So.
Shout out Miss Antoine. I mean, those she's incredible, and the cooking, whatever she wants, those are all good. So that's awesome.
Catch that matchup, Skordle.tv, Skordle app, FairviewYellowJackets.tv, Tonkawa Buccaneers.tv.
Now, I do have to give a shout out to Tonkawa since they are in K County. They have an all-star coaching staff on their own. So I know I do not go against the Fairview Mafia on this show. I'm outnumbered like 10-1. And I said 14-20. I think it might be in that range, but Tonkawa's got a good team. I think they're going to get a little bit better as the season goes along. They're a team to watch in Class A.
Yeah. Old Coach Harmon, I called his games for years at Garber. So.
All right, we have a 3A versus 4A matchup on Friday in Kingfisher as the other Yellow Jackets host the Clinton Red Tornadoes. Both these teams are 0-1 to start the season. Kingfisher lost a heartbreaker 28-27 in overtime at Weatherford a week ago. Mark, who gets into the win column this week?
This is a tough game. Coach Higbee is going through some stuff, and so having difficulty with the knee replacement and some other things like that. And Clinton's down a little bit in numbers. So I think Kingfisher's going to win this game. I think it'll be very, very close. Don't ever count Clinton out by the end of the season. I think they're going to be very good. They've got some of the best tradition in Western Oklahoma. But I think Kingfisher gets the victory here in a tight one.
Tom.
Now, Clinton's dominated the series over the years. They've won 13 of 15 going back half a century. But last year, one of the closest in the series, Clinton won in overtime 30-27. A lot of those Kingfisher guys are back that almost pulled that upset off. Jet Birdwell threw for 230 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Last week, Brody Beckman, a couple of receiving touchdowns, and had domination on the defensive side as well in that Weatherford game that they almost won. Clinton took a week off after being shut out by Heritage Hall in 0 week. Both teams hungry for that first win. Kingfisher hasn't beaten Clinton in 19 years, and I'm going to say we're going with the Jackets. I think they're going to get it done this year.
Let's go to Kingfisher guy, Chris.
Well, you know my answer. I'm going to go against history and tradition and all that stuff, and go with Coach Roof and Kingfisher. They are hungry after the tough loss last week. So I'm going with the Jackets.
Nick.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kingfisher in this one with their experience coming back, obviously, with, Jeb Birdwell at quarterback with 22 touchdowns last year. And, they're going to look for some revenge, and it's home, so they're back in that home environment at Kingfisher and everything. So I'm going to take the Yellow Jackets in this one.
Jacob Esource.
Clinton got off to a slow start. That took that really tough loss against Heritage Hall. But I think Heritage Hall is one of the best defenses in Class 3A. But so does Kingfisher. And Kingfisher also has home field advantage. And they're battle tested. Even though they came out with a loss last week, that was a really good football game. And going into Weatherford like that and competing shows me that Kingfisher's got, the mental toughness. Add that with a home field advantage. And that's the recipe for breaking a losing streak against a team like Clinton with a history. I got Kingfisher a 6-point favorite at home, and I think they pull out a wild game, 28-19.
All right, let's go to Pick'em game number 4. We have an Edmond private school rivalry game on Friday. Oklahoma Christian will travel across town to play at Crossings. OCS won this game last year in lopsided fashion, but Crossings had an impressive 35-24 win over Dallas's Green Hill Academy last week. Tom Nelson, give us a preview.
Well, they call it the Holy Bowl, and Crossings looking for their first win ever. Last year it was all OCS, as you said. The final score was 35-3. Saints' best player, Atticus Sage, had 12 catches for 157 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game. Well, he's back. 9 starters are back on defense. On the other side, Crossings graduated quite a bit from last year's team, and they're going to get better with experience, but I don't see them being good enough this week to hang with the OCS, so I'm picking the Saints.
Mark.
I'm going to go with Josh Fields, and I think Crossings is a lot better than they were last year. Garrett Davis is a sophomore quarterback. He threw 3 touchdowns last week. Jack Weisgarber was their running back, and so they've got some new players in there. Hudson Holloman had a big week. Crossings, I think, is a little bit better than they were a year ago. I think this game is going to go Crossings' way, so I'll disagree with Tom and go with Crossings. I'll go with the Knights over the Saints. I didn't know it was the Holy Bowl. I did not know.
The Holy Bowl.
All right, Chris, let's go to you.
I just flipped a coin on this one based on Tom and Mark's call. So OCS came out on top. So I'm going to go with OCS.
Nick.
Yeah, I'm going to go with OCS like Chris and everyone else. And I think just with the experience back on, defense and with Atticus Sage and Creighton Allen and Braden Weaver, it's just going to be another dominant showing like last year. So I'm going to go with OCS in this one.
Now, I will say this, at OCS, they called it the Holy Bowl. I'm assuming it goes both ways. I saw it on an OCS website, so.
I assume that Crossings is just as holy as OCS is, so I don't think that's going to change anything there. So, hey, I'm clearly on an island. Jake, help me out here. Do you want to join my side?
Well, I want to echo what you said about Crossings. I think they're better than people think. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Jack Weisgarber because I think Skordle rules. Eric, his dad, is a big part of Skordle. But Jack's a beast, man. He's a really unique athlete. And I think he's a difference maker. But OCS has a couple of those guys too. Yeah. They've got probably the best pair of receivers, in 2A. On those guys on the outside. This is gonna be a really good game. I got OCS a 4.5 point favorite on the road at Crossings. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, but and I think OCS comes out on top. Sorry, Mark, but at least I got it close, 30-28.
Thank you. That's fine. I'm not worried about. I'm fine on an island. I'm good.
And also an interesting coaching matchup there is as Coach Stevenson at Crossings came over from OCS a couple of years ago. So interesting matchup there with OCS and Crossings. Hey, we're going to pause, guys, for just a minute. We're filming this show on Monday evening, and there's word out about a softball bus crash with Minco Public Schools. Sounds like there could be some serious injuries. So obviously Minco Public Schools is a network partner with Skordle, and we wish all of the Minco family our thoughts and prayers here at Skordle, and hope for the absolute best out of that situation. I'm sure there's a lot of very concerned parents and administration and teachers and staff there tonight. So obviously wish them the best, first responders and all those involved from here at Skordle.
6 surgeons, 4 locations, 1 goal: to improve the health and lives of people in Oklahoma. At Oral and Maxillofacial Associates, we treat every patient like family. As the preferred dental implant and oral surgery specialist of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and with over 30 years of service to our community, we are trusted by professionals and dedicated to expert care. With 4 convenient locations around the metro area, we are here for you. Trust the experts at OMA. Visit our website, www.omaok.com.
Let's go to Pick'em game number 5. We're halfway through our network games. The Weatherford Eagles 1-0 after an overtime win over Kingfisher last week that we mentioned just a few minutes ago. The Eagles will travel to El Reno to take on the 1-1 Indians, who fell 34-0 to a really good Piedmont team last week. Tom, tell us about this matchup.
Weatherford has won the last 3 years, 31 to nothing shutout last year, but wins by 1 and 2 points the 2 years before that. Eagles got a huge stop on a 2-point conversion to beat Kingfisher in double overtime last week. In that game, Weatherford ran for over 300 yards on the ground, led by Noah Wilds, 153 yards and 4 touchdowns. Ty Short added 144 rushing yards as well. El Reno has a 0-week win over Chickasha before Piedmont shut them out last week. Now, Antoine Grayson had a great game running the ball against the Chicks 2 weeks ago, and Russell Cook is one of the best athletes in the state at quarterback and linebacker. You got a team coming off a blowout loss against a team coming off an overtime win. I think the momentum's going to carry over to this week for the Eagles. I'm going to go with Weatherford to make it 6 straight wins in this series.
Mark?
Yeah, I think you have to look at the history here. El Reno really stepped up in class last week, knocking off Chickasha. That's a big rivalry, so anything can happen in that game. But I think Weatherford is going to continue the streak that they've had before. So I do like to lean on past results and history, and I'm going to go Weatherford.
Nick, let's go to you.
I'm going to take my alma mater, the Eagles here. Noah Wald with 4 rushing touchdowns last week and everything. And what Coach Sauce wants to do down there is run the football and, ground and pound type of action. And history it will repeat itself. I think Weatherford takes this one.
Chris?
Well, if Weatherford's good enough to beat Kingfisher, I'm going to go with the Eagles. So I pick Weatherford.
Jacob?
Yeah, Weatherford gutted out a win against Kingfisher last week. It was a gritty win. Lucas Bird, the middle linebacker, who I understand is the heart and soul of that team per their team preview. I heard he stepped up big and made some clutch plays when they needed him on defense. El Reno, they've played 2 games, had a lopsided loss and then a big win against Chickasha to show, that they've got a competitive football team. But Weatherford, I think, is just a little bit, has El Reno a little bit outmanned. I got Weatherford an 11-point favorite at El Reno, and I have a win in 34-14.
Skordle.tv, El Reno Indians.tv for that matchup. The Class 5A Newcastle Racers are hosting the 4A Blanchard Lions on Friday. Newcastle 1-1 on the year after a 35-7 loss to that really good Tuttle team last week. Blanchard 1-0 on the season after a 34-14 win over Noble a week ago. Mark Rogers, who gets the win in Newcastle on Friday?
Another really tough game. Blanchard had 2 pick sixes last week. Cole Watkins had 1. Camden Hall had the other. This is a coin toss. I think Newcastle will beat Blanchard. Blanchard's rebuilding, first year under Lance Manning. Newcastle went to Bartlesville and won in week 1. I think Tuttle is really, really good. I don't think that last year 4A was a toss-up between Tuttle and Elgin. They had a great championship game. I think everybody's chasing Tuttle this year in Class 4A, including Blanchard, but I'm going to go with Newcastle in this game.
Tom?
Yeah, Blanchard's won the last 4 years, but I'm going to go with continuity. Newcastle has some key pieces back from last year's 5A state semifinal team. Blanchard's got a new coach and needing some players to step up into some new roles. So I'm going to take the Racers to end their Blanchard losing streak.
Chris?
Well, yeah, Blanchard has won 4 in a row, and they've also gone into Newcastle the last 5 of the 6 matchups at Newcastle and won. So They're 5-1 there. So I'm going to go with the Lions. They lead the all-time series 26-25 since 1972. Going to go with Blanchard.
Nick.
Yeah, it's like everyone said, there's going to be athletes on both sides of the ball for both of these teams. I liked what Newcastle showed in that season opener against Bartlesville with everything, so I'm going to take the Racers in this one.
Jacob.
Yeah, that was a big time win by Newcastle. And, Newcastle's got some really good facilities. Blanchard might be rebuilding a little bit. I think Newcastle cracked the top 10 in the rankings in 5A. This would be a really good game. I just have, I think Blanchard, they just have tradition on their side. They have, historically have always found ways to win these kind of games. I feel like year in and year out. And, even with a new coaching staff, I feel like Blanchard's tradition is going to carry them. This is going to be a tight game. I got Blanchard a 5.5 point favorite at Newcastle. I think it stays closer than that, but I got Blanchard 27-24.
All right, guys, let's talk about our first Skordle game of the week, a school network game for the Dewar Dragons. As the defending B1 state champions travel to the defending B2 state champions this week in what promises to be a fantastic 8-man football game. Dewar and Walika have looked dominant in their games so far this year. Tom Nelson, you're our 8-man expert. Give us a preview on this matchup.
Well, once again, we've got the 0 week opening up the schedule enough to get these great matchups. And you got two #1 teams in Class B playing each other. They won the gold balls in their respective divisions last year. What a great matchup it's going to be. Last year, Walika handed Dewar their only loss of the season. 36-20 was the final score at Dewar. The Dragons have started the Matt Ross era with blowout wins over Yale and Wetumpka, while Walika has won decisively over Waurika and Davenport. What a matchup. Isaiah Drake, quarterback for Walika against Dewar's physical, relentless defense. I think Dewar remembers that last loss. They're going to get a little payback this week, and I'm going to take the Dragons.
Mark.
Well, this is another game that could go either way. But I agree with Tom. I think Dewar versus the table from last year, they have a lot of players back, and Walika is really good. Both these teams have a great chance to win their respective state championships. I'm going to go with the Dragons on the road.
Nick.
I'm going to take Walika in this one. Obviously, the Isaiah Drake, and then with Dewar, you got Peyton Kilhofer and then Braylon Lewis and everything. It's like everyone said, this is one of these matchups that, with 0 week and everything, you get these type of games now. But I'm going to take Walika with just Isaiah Drake's his dual threat ability. I think it's going to provide too much chaos and everything on the field, and I think Walika takes this one.
Chris.
Well, looking at the history of this one, Dewar leads the series 28-23 since 1951. And like everybody said, this is a great matchup. Dewar has won the past 4 meetings at Walika, and last year's loss was the Walika's win was not only a big win, but it snapped Dewar's 55-game regular season winning streak. So Dewar's had great success over the past 6+ seasons. They've won 81. They were 81-5, 2 state titles. I'm gonna go with Dewar.
Jacob.
Man, this is a hard game to pick. You got the two #1 teams in Class B, B1 and B2 facing off. Great week to see this kind of non-district 8-man games in Oklahoma. Man, it's a coin flip, but I think the difference in this game is going to come down to which team has the best player on the field, and that's Isaiah Drake. He's a VIPE top 100 player from 8-man. I think he amassed over 4,000 yards last year, and I see him being the difference. I got this a pick 'em. When you got two class teams like this, it's definitely a pick 'em, but I got Walika winning on the back of home field advantage and Isaiah Drake 32-30.
Dewar and Walika, both Skordle Network schools. We wish them the absolute best on Friday night and throughout the rest of their season. Like Mark said, 2 teams that will have a chance to repeat as champions in their respective divisions. All right, let's go to our last network game. This is a Skordle game of the week. Pioneer 2-0 on the season after a 26-0 shutout of Cherokee last week. Timberlake is also 2-0, one of those games being a 64-60 win over Cherokee back in August in week 0. Tom, you're calling this game with Adam on Friday. What are you looking for in this matchup?
A lot of folks might have been sleeping on the Mustangs a little bit. Pioneer was 2-8 a year ago, but their coaches in the district didn't. They picked them second behind Laverne. Gus Overstreet told me that most of these kids have started since their freshman year. They developed a really solid connection with each other. They've gotten off to a good start with big wins over Drumright and Cherokee. Zaya Fafa is their quarterback, and he's been solid. Branson Doyle and Cullen McDonald are weapons behind a good size and experienced offensive line. Eli Vanover in that defensive secondary really sets the tone on the size on that side of the ball. He had a bunch of tackles the first couple of games. Timberlake ruled Central last week. Pioneer's going to have to slow down Maverick Judd and put the heat on Peyton Pierce. Considering that Pioneer is almost twice the size of Timberlake enrollment-wise, it might be a little surprising that the Mustangs only lead the all-time series 6-5, and last year it was all Timberlake 52-6. Now, I'm not much for the comparative score game, but I'm going to do it. And we just mentioned it earlier. 2 weeks ago, Timberlake held off Cherokee 64-60. Last week, Pioneer shut them out 26-0. Does it mean anything? Well, that's why we're going to Helena to find out on Friday night. So I'll talk to you next week about that, I guess.
Mark.
Oh, man. I think I'm picking up what Tom is putting down. So I have Pioneer picked in this game. And I don't like picking against Timberlake because they've been really, really good. Bryson Doyle, a couple of touchdowns last week for Pioneer. I think Pioneer, I had them in the rankings last week, and I've got them in the rankings again this week. And I think that they are much, much better. So I trust the coaches. I trust Tom and what he was saying. I don't think he wanted to pick against Timberlake. He's not going to get bars if he picks against Timberlake and when he goes there. So I'm going to go Pioneer. This could go either way. I was a little nervous about this pick. I mean, it's hard to pick against Timberlake, but I'm going to go Pioneer.
Nick Friesen, let's go to you.
This game's going to be a good one in Northwest Oklahoma. I think with Pioneers just experience back on the offensive line and just with Branson Doyle, what he can do in that backfield. And, you know, I've talked to Coach Overstreet and everything, and what he said is they're ready to, you know, make a difference and make a statement this year with all the experience and everything. It's time. And so they're going to have to find some ways to stop Peyton Pearson, Maverick Judd, and Paxton Glenn. But if they can get just a couple stops and then to keep their running game going, I'm going to take Pioneer in this one to make an upset and the Timberlake Tigers.
All right, Chris.
Well, I'm going to go against the flow here. I'm going to go with Coach Severin and his tradition, and he's in his 32nd year as coach there. That's the second most all time at one school. He passed a couple of good names on the list: Chris Bunch at Spiro and Joe Ross at Thomas this past year. And is only behind Mike Snyder at Seminole, who's in his 46th year. So I am going to go against the flow here and pick Timberlake.
Jacob.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good football game. It's definitely game of the week material. Pioneer with a very impressive win. But Timberlake, you know, I know that 64-60 first week 0 game. They got exposed a little bit defensively, but I think that might be in big part, you know, just, you know, the week 0 jitters maybe. They're back home this week. Pioneer is going to have their hands full with Maverick Judd out of the backfield. I got Timberlake a 10-point favorite at home. I think Pioneer keeps it closer than that. I got Timberlake coming out on top, though, 36-28.
They say that home field is worth 3 points. How much is home field playing in the stadium named after the coach on the sidelines? That's got to be worth another 3.
Yeah, I actually, in high school football, I give home field 6 points when I do my lines. Just so giving away a little secret there, guys. So, but yeah,
Nick agrees with me. I'm pretty sure I thought Tom was saying one thing, but he may be saying another. But that's just so nobody gets mad at him. So we're good.
That's right. I'm walking that tightrope on this one.
But to answer your question, I think that makes it 7 with the being named after the coach. I think that adds another point to home field.
There you go.
All right, that's our 8
Great.
network games you can watch for free on Skordle.tv or the Skordle app.
Jake, if they name it Mike Gundy Field, how many points will that add?
Uh, geez. Well, depends on who you're playing, I guess.
Okay. All right.
It's I think OSU might have a little bit of a economic advantage against Timberlake, but not Oregon. That's for sure. But why doesn't Gunny take a week off from press conferences? How's that sound?
That's just standard procedure.
I know.
I have a game
I
this
know.
week, so no press conference.
I'm sure if he could have a week off, he'd take it.
Yeah.
He's definitely take the bye week. That's for sure.
Don't get me in trouble. I got another show to do tomorrow.
Yep. Hey, I'm not a Gundy hater, so these people are idiots. Mike Gundy.
There are some idiots out there. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
they're morons. I mean, give me a break. The guy went to 17 with straight bowl games. I mean, he rebuilt Oklahoma State football. So it's just like the way it was with Stoops. Gundy will make his own decisions about those kind of things. So OSU fans need to splash some cold water in their face.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about Jim as the idiot, so we're good.
At least they didn't lose to Army.
Yeah,
Sorry,
K-State,
Tom.
they're a mess.
It's been a rough start. OSU and K-State play each other.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
somebody's got to win.
Good seats available.
We'll get this train back on track so Mark gets to go to Philly this weekend to cover OU Temple. You get your second week in a row off from Skordle, Mark.
I know it might extend to 3, but anyway, we're working it out. We're going to get some games later on in the year. I would have loved to have been in Tonkawa to do that Fairview Tonkawa game, but I'll have to report from the Phillies Royals game on Friday.
Very good. Get some cheesesteaks, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Brahms Banana Fudge Sundae, overflowing with delicious hot fudge and fresh slices of banana. Treat yourself to a banana fudge sundae at Brahms, where every spoonful is pure bliss.
All right, we're going to discuss 4 non-network games. Cannot watch these on Skordle, but these will be really good matchups. Mustang at Broken Arrow. Mark Rogers, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go with Mustang. They won last year. Broken Arrow had a 1-point loss to Fayetteville. They're the number 4 ranked team in Arkansas, regardless of class. Purple Dogs are great at Fayetteville. So I think Broken Arrow is definitely on the right track. Coach Hill's doing a good job there, getting them turned around. And I think that they, by the end of the season, will be in the mix. Mustang's got the best skill athletes they've ever had. They got behind early to UConn, but that ran away with it in the second half. So if they can hold up on the offensive and defensive lines against teams like Bixby and Owasso and Jinx later on in the season, they've got a chance to do something special here on the west side of the state. So I think they beat Broken Arrow this week. We'll see if they have the toughness up front to contend in Class 6A Division I, but I like Mustang.
Tom.
Yeah, we've talked about it here on the show. Is Mustang the team from the west side that can win a state title for the first time in 30 years? If they are, they should beat Broken Arrow. So,
Nick, let's go to you.
I kind of think that, like Tom just said, I mean, if they have all these skill weapons and everything, and it's like what also Mark said, with 6A1 and 6A2, it comes down to the offense and defensive line and see how you can stack up against the Owassos and the Bixbys and the Jinx. But if they're going to be this team where they have all these skill weapons and they have this type of offense and everything, they should beat Broken Arrow in this one.
Chris.
I think I'm going to go with everybody else on this. I'm going to go with Mustang last year. It was a close game, it looked like, and that was their only regular season matchup ever. Yeah, I think Mustang is rolling, and they should be able to beat Broken Arrow if they're going to get it done. So,
Jacob.
I'm going to go against the grain here. I just think, Broken Arrow plays with a chip on their shoulder. These are 2 fairly even teams, 2 of the bigger schools in the state. Mustang has a bunch of stud skill players. O'Neal kid, superstar, but I just have a feeling about this one. I got it a pick 'em game, but I got Broken Arrow winning a tight one, 28-27.
All right, our next matchup, Perkins at Cushing. Tom Nelson.
Perkins and Cushing have played the last 5 years. Cushing has won 4 of those, including a 10-point win last year. This is the 3rd-ranked 3A school that Class 4A Cushing has played this season. In both games they've played have been down to the wire. The 1-point win over Berry Hill and a 4-point loss at Bristow. Roman Tucker's been really good, over 500 yards passing and almost 150 yards rushing in 2 games. He's also thrown 5 interceptions in 2 games as well. That Demon secondary, led by Wyatt Atkinson, they're licking their chops. Perkins put up 70 on Dewey last week. I think it's another close game for Cushing, but I'm picking the Demons to come out on top.
Mark.
This is a great game. And I think that Perkins has got the best team that they've had in a couple of years. Class 3A, everyone's chasing Lincoln. They're awesome. A great win for Sulphur last week. Perkins is, I think, better than they were last year. Cushing is good, but I'm going to go with Perkins. And another game this week that all of these games, I mean, are just so close. So it's challenging to pick these games, but I want to go with Perkins.
Chris.
I'm going to go with Mark and Tom on this one. I'm going to go with Perkins. I know Cushing's at home, but Perkins looks very, very good. One Perkins.
Nick, let's go to you.
I'm going to go with Perkins as well. It's like everyone said, they return, probably their best team in the last couple of years. And, I read their previews and everything. They want to make that push for 3A gold ball, and they're gonna have to take down a Lincoln Christian or anyone else in that class 3A. But I think that Perkins will take this one just because of their experience, bring it back, and they're ready to make that push.
Jacob Resource.
Yeah, like Mark said, these are all coin flip games. Going to come down to turnovers, big plays, clutch performances. This game could go either way. Cushing's a good football team playing at home. Perkins, same thing. If this game was at Perkins, I think Perkins, is probably easily a touchdown favorite or more. At Cushing, it's a lot tighter than that. But I agree with the rest of the panel. I think Perkins has the best team it's had in a while. A lot of talent back, a lot of senior leadership. I got Perkins a 2.5-point favorite at Cushing, and I think they cover 35-27.
Half off nachos if you mention Jake at the Spider Dome after Perkins win.
Here you go. Hey, we previewed Washington at Sulphur on the show last week, and Sulphur plays at Davis this week. Mark, you want to tell us what happened in Sulphur last week and kind of how that might propel Sulphur in this week's matchup?
Well, I'll tell you this. It was the Massey rankings last week had Sulphur as a big favorite in that, and they ended Washington's long winning streak. Incredible effort from Maddox Mobley. He had one of the better high school games you'll ever see. That's something he'll remember the rest of his life in ending that winning streak for Washington. So great win for Sulphur. They got to play Davis this week, and it never matters between these two teams who has the better players or who has more coming back. This is always a great matchup. And if I have to rank any of the great rivalries in Oklahoma during my lifetime, this is in the top, I don't know, it might be in the top 2 or 3. Maybe it's up there even higher than that. I think Sulphur wins it this year. Davis is really good. They won the state championship last year, and Sulphur came up a half yard short. So it tells you what this means in that community. Rivalry means proximity. There's only 7 miles between these two towns. Both have great traditions and have won multiple state championships. So put this one on your calendar. If you want to go see a great high school game one year and you have something to do, go see this Murray County matchup. So I'm going to go with Sulphur, but I think it'll be close.
Mobley was our Skordle player of the week after that incredible performance. 18 tackles, 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 on the ground. So, like Mark said, incredible game from him. Tom Nelson, let's go to you.
Yeah, anybody else you're playing next week after you end Washington's winning streak, you might expect a letdown, but nah, too big of a rivalry game. I don't see it happening. Sulphur's won 8 of the last 9 in the series. They beat Davis last year 42-7. They're the bigger school. They're both great. Both these teams can win a gold ball in their class, but this week, Sulphur's my pick.
Nick.
Sulphur gets that, beats that winning streak, that Washington winning streak. And, now they get to go into their rivalry game this week. And so I'm going to take Sulphur in this one. Maddox Mobley, like I said, he played one of the best high school games that I've ever seen. I went back and watched that game, and that was awesome to watch, just especially that fourth quarter and everything. So I'm going to take Sulphur in this rival matchup.
Chris.
Well, looking at the history of this, Sulphur is 44, 33-1 all time since 1944. Sulphur's won 8 of the last 9. They've gone into Davis and won the last 3 out of 4. I can't imagine as far as the football gods or whatever high school playing Washington week 1 or last week and doing what they did and ending the winning streak and then getting to go and play your rivalry at Davis. That's an incredible thing for Sulphur. So I think they keep the motion going, and I'm going with Sulphur.
Jacob.
This might be, I think if you ask the folks in Sulphur and Davis what the best rivalry in Oklahoma high school football is, that I know what the answer would be. This is, like Mark said, just a classic year in, year out battle, and these teams are always at the top of their classes. What a huge win by Sulphur. I'm going to echo what everybody said about the Mobley kid. A massive individual performance, breaking Washington's winning streak. Now who has the longest winning streak in the state? Is it Lincoln? But this football game, I could see them having a little bit of a letdown coming off that kind of a emotional win like that. And you can't give Davis an inch, not in this rivalry, not on their home field. I got Sulphur a 4.5-point favorite, or 6.5-point favorite. Strike that. And I think Davis keeps it closer than that, but I think Mobley's the best player in the field. He makes the difference. Sulphur 28-24.
All right, guys, our last matchup to discuss tonight, Stroud at Pawnee. Mark Rogers.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to our panelists tonight. Chris has done such a great job with his website, and that I always refer to that all the time. And both he and I are historians of the game, and I've been doing this for over 30 years. And so I appreciate what he's doing, because long after we're gone, I think a lot of people are going to benefit from that. And the Enid News and Eagle has some of the best they've got the best coverage in high school football. Tulsa World does a great job. Enid News does a great job too. And so not many places can you find great high school coverage when you're looking at media outlets, but Enid is great. So great job, Nick. And it's a pleasure to be on here with you too, Chris. So I'm going to go with Pawnee in this game. Stroud's rebuilding a little bit this year. Pawnee is a team that I think can contend for the Class A Division I championship. They're really good. So I'll go with the Black Bears.
Well said, Mark. Tom Nelson.
And then go to Clicks if you're in Pawnee, and save room for desserts, because they've got incredible pie there. The main menu is good. Adam Dieselhorst would not save room for dessert, because when he went to Ken's, he ignored the honey bear on the table with the highly buttered bread. They serve it with the meal, but it is dessert. So Adam wouldn't recognize that, but at Clicks, save room for dessert. Great pies.
Have to get the T-bone at Clicks and the dessert.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's hard to save for dessert because they got a great salad bar, soup, they got great soup, and a big old cheese block. I mean, you got to
save room for the dessert.
That's right.
Tom Nelson, let's go to you. Stroud at Pawnee.
You look at what happened last week. Stroud lost a rivalry game. Pawnee beat the number 2 team in A2. The Black Bears shut down Woodland's ground game, hold them to just 35 rushing yards, under 2 yards a carry. Stroud lost a rock fight to Chandler 13-8. Pawnee brings back a defense that after an 0-3 start last year gave up just 7 points a game on the way to the state semis. Stroud's defense can dominate as well. I think it's going to be tough sledding for both offenses. I'll take Stroud to bounce back from last week's disappointment. And I got to say, I've only lived in Oklahoma for 23 years. Anything I know about high school football before 23 years ago is because I was at the game. So
no dessert for you, Tom. No dessert for you. Clicks is not giving you the dessert.
Chris, let's go to you.
I'm going to go with Pawnee too on this, and guys, I very much appreciate the kind words. It's been a labor of love for a long time, and like you, Mark, I love doing it, and the skills and the abilities that have been given, you just use them to the best that you can, and do the best you can. But I'm going to go with Pawnee on this game. A couple of notes. One thing that was mentioned was the longest current winning streak. That is Tipton in Class C. They're at 43 games for 8-man, and the 11-man is Carl Albert. They're at 40. And one more note, one of the questions that came up earlier was about who was the fastest to 200. And according to what I have, again, this was a couple years ago, Coach Trimble accomplished that in 18 seasons, and that includes his the games he had to forfeit in what was that, 2008. And so, but yeah, he did it in 18 seasons. So
Wow.
200 wins.
Good stuff, Chris. Nick, let's go to you.
I'm gonna take Pawnee in this one. It's like Tom said, both of these defenses are really stout, and the offense is gonna be hard to come by in this game and everything. But I'm gonna take Pawnee in this one, and appreciate the kind words. High school sports is our passion at the Enid News and Eagle, and with just a JUCO team and NOC Enid out here, you rely on high school sports. So, but high school sports is the best atmosphere in all of sports, really. So, appreciate the kind words. But yeah, I'm going to take Pawnee in this one.
And I will throw out there, I've got your football preview magazine on right beside the bed as well. So,
Yeah, no, they do a great job on that. Great job. Hey, one more guy closest to 200, and Chris can verify this. I think he's pretty close. Is Brandon Tyler, good friend of the show, new Skordle school this year at Salisaw. He's coaching Sequoia County at Vian and Gore, and now Salisaw. He's really close to that. He's got one of the better records as a head coach in Oklahoma high school football history in terms of winning percentage, and I think he's over 200 right now.
I could tell you here in a minute.
Well, let's let Jacob Dieselhorse make his pick.
Sorry, Jake.
Oh, you're good. I was watching the Bears find ways to lose games like they always do. This is going to be, like you guys said, Stroud really struggled to finish drives last week against Chandler. But they do have an opportunistic defense. They're going to need their defense if they're going to win at Pawnee. Pawnee, I think, is going to be one of the top teams in A1. I think they have strength on both sides of the football, and with home field advantage, physicality edge, more explosiveness. Stroud's going to try to grind it out, but I think that favors Pawnee if and when the game opens up. I got Pawnee 12.5-point favorite, and I think they win and cover 27-14.
Chris, any word on Coach Tyler?
He is at 204. 20th season, 204 wins.
Yeah, he's up there. That's about 10 a year. Hey, by the way, I went 8-4 in week 1. I was 10-2 in week 0, but I did not see anyone post the week 0 picks. So I do not want to see anything. If I go 5-7 this week, because all these games are tough, I don't want to see some kind of count of how, what the picks were. So we have to get the season-long totals if we're going to give 1 week last week. I don't know if I'm talking to Corey or what, but that was, I kind of thought that was a shot at my 8-4 record last week.
I think the season long totals are on that graphic right
okay.
after.
All right.
Totals. I think it says season long, I believe.
Yeah, I think our producer Corey, who does a great job, is responsible for the tallies, and I think Corey would just say, "Get better, Mark." I mean,
Corey only does a great job if he's posting the picks from the right weeks. Okay, I mean, I'll compliment him if I have a good record this week, but man, that was tough.
I got a feeling 7-4 might be how many games we picking? 8 or 12? How many games?
Tom, you and I got showed up last week by the guest pickers.
Yes, we did. We did.
Lugnut and Robert, they both showed us up. I mean, they had some upset picks. So I don't know. Well, we got to get better.
They both did the Homer upset picks, and it worked out for both of them. They both picked the teams they had to. Lugnut took Chandler, and Robert took Sulphur, and both those teams came out with the upset home wins. So
I did my homework.
But I kind of like the standings where they are right now,
sources,
to be honest.
But they were not right.
I tell you what, 8-4, 8-4 could be a really good week this week with the games.
Hey, 6-6 is a good week this week. I'm telling you, this is tough.
It's a great set of games.
This is the toughest week of the year.
Yep.
Hey, 2 notes from me before we sign off here. Adam sent me a note. Ethan Dayton, the 8th grader from Timberlake, is going to join Tom and Adam on the call on Friday night for the Skordle Game of the Week. He is the voice of the Timberlake Tigers and does a great job for Timberlake. So looking forward to having Ethan on the call with Tom.
We'll get him on for a while. We'll let him. I'll sit there and let him have my headset for a little bit.
It's okay. Tom can work him into the post game show, which is a Tom Nelson post game show is 30 minutes. A Mark Rogers post game show is 3 minutes.
And again, on a serious note, I've just been following this Minko situation. Superintendent Kevin Sims has canceled school there for tomorrow. So just a lot of thoughts and prayers for the Minko community and the first responders who are dealing with that situation. I haven't seen anything specific as far as injuries yet, but sounds like it was a very serious crash, and we obviously wish the very, very best for Minko. Appreciate everybody joining us tonight on the Skordle Pater Pick'em Show. Be sure to tune into Skordle.tv or Skordle app so you can watch all those network games we just discussed for free. Thanks as always to our sponsors and our guests tonight, Chris and Nick. You guys did a great job. Always a pleasure having you on. Enjoy all the football this week, Oklahoma, and we'll see you next week.